before we begin, just to go through the agenda. So I am going to start with a very brief introduction because we have started a bit late. So very brief introduction on Data Group IT, who we are. Then I will hand it over to the Elastic team. So we will have our speaker talking about the platform overview and the three solutions that Elastic presents. And after that, we can have a very brief Q&A session. So I will just share my screen right now. Okay, please just let me know once the screen comes on.
Not yet, Tina.
Okay.
We can see it now.
Okay. Thank you so much. So yeah, like I mentioned, this is it's a webinar that's in collaboration with Elastic. So Data Group IT. Sorry about that. So Data Group IT is a distributor that has a presence all over the African continent. So we are a value-added distributor that's normally customer-facing. And we say value-add because we normally offer supplementary services to our customers. That means we run demos, presentations, POCs, and we also do workshops at no cost. And we provide ICT solutions to all kinds of businesses, whether it's enterprises, SMEs, or schools, industries, banks, etc. And we do so by partnering with, so we do this in a channel model. We do this by partnering with some of the partners that are established all over Africa. You know, the likes of Copycat, Civil, ISOLs, most of whom have actually joined this session with us today. And we provide these services through subscription, so we don't sell it to you directly, rather we sell it through our partners. And as mentioned, we have established our footprint all over Africa. So we are in East Africa, we are in South and in West as well. And we deal with different sectors, so whether it's the financial sector, telecom, government, we have experience with all of them. And how we give this service is through the reference architecture. So we call this the 6-pillar model, where we try to cover end-to-end of your infrastructure. Sorry, just a minute. Sure. Okay, apologies for that. So as I was saying, we do this through the 6-pillar model where we try to cover the end-to-end of your infrastructure. So as you can see displayed on the screen, we cover user security, cloud, mobile, data, network, and application security as well. So as you can see, we try to ensure that we are well covered in a holistic approach. And if you see anything that might interest you, maybe you can send a chat as the presentation is going on so that we can have a follow-up session on this. Then other than the products, we also do have managed services that are provided by our sister company called CyberSoc. So even if you have your own products in place in your infrastructure and you'd maybe like help in managing them, we do have CyberSoc that provides these managed services when it comes to firewall management, intrusion detection systems, and IPS management, WAF, advanced malware, etc. They also do threat intelligence so that you're aware of what's going on in the cybersecurity space outside of your company. So just like I said, we have started a bit late and I wouldn't want to take away time on the main agenda of this session. So if you would like any follow-up session, once again, you can communicate with either of your account managers or send a link in the chat, then you can set up a follow-up session for this. But for now, I would like to hand over to our team in Elastic so that they can begin the presentation.
Cool. Thank you, Tina.
Okay.
So hello everyone, it's Jacques. It's Jacques Fleming here. I am a senior solutions architect at Elastic, and as Tina's mentioned, I'll be taking you through very, very quickly, some of the high-level capabilities that the Elastic platform brings, and we'll go into some of the solution areas, what we call solution areas, just to give you a feel or an idea of what it is those solution areas aims to bring. Tina, I just wanted to check what is our time situation like? How much time do we have? Tina, are you there?
So we have till the top of the hour.
Okay. So we've got an additional 50 minutes. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So I'll start the presentation. Let me know when you can see my slide deck.
We can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. All right. So yes. So I'll be taking you through the Elastic platform, just an overview of that platform. We're going to be moving very, very quickly. There's actually quite a lot to cover because Elastic itself is very, very extensive. So we're going to be very, very quickly going through the different solution areas. But really just to introduce you to Elastic, so when we talk about Elastic and what Elastic is, it's really a search-based analytics platform. And that is a very sort of loose term because it's really, we do pretty much anything data related. And I'll take you through the platform stack now. But there's a good chance, and there's millions, if not billions, of people that as they navigate through their digital day, that they're actually interacting with Elastic without really knowing it. Elastic, of course, it started out its journey as an open source project, data search platform, effectively. And since then we've grown very, very rapidly, and we currently have a number of different sort of license levels, but being coming from the open source sort of world, we continue to offer the Elastic technology in an open free and open license model. And we currently have over 4.5 billion downloads. So a lot of people are using us, to basically process data, and that is really throughout the day. So if we look at, from when we wake up in the morning, and we interacting with all these digital services through, mobile devices and web applications, there's a good chance that you're interacting with Elastic under the hood, right? So anything from reading the news to checking weather to listening to music, to ordering lifts through Uber, to buying insurance, all the way through as we interact with this, this digital world, a lot of the time there's Elastic under the hood. So, and where Elastic is extremely powerful is it started out as a big data platform. Effectively, it is a big data platform. And there is a mountain of data around us. And there's estimated to be 480 exabytes of data that is produced daily, in our digital lives. And to process and make use and get value out of that data is typically a challenge, and Elastic helps you do that, right? So when we talk about the Elasticsearch platform, it's one search analytics platform with 2 out-of-the-box solutions, and we'll be going into those solutions. But it is also really the ability to build any sort of data processing capability that you might require. Okay, so it's one platform with 2 very specialized solution areas. Elastic Observability and of course security, and then there's everything else that we call Elasticsearch, and that is really it could be a search, use case. If you're searching Wikipedia as an example, that's a good search example. That is Elastic under the hood, and we'll be going deeper into these different solution areas. Okay. And once again, on one single platform where you ingest your data, we make it very, very simple to get the data in. We secure that, we secure and store that data where we can process it. And then we apply all sorts of, machine learning processing on top of it. We're able to search it. We're able to visualize that data. And then we're, of course, able to build, data workflows, automation capabilities as well. Okay, so this is the platform as a whole. If you look horizontally at the 3-layer cake, the center layer is where Elasticsearch sits. That is effectively where we store, search, and analyze our data. It is the big data platform. It is where we store that data. We're able to process it very, very quickly and cost effectively at huge scale. Okay. And in order for us to interact with that data, we use Kibana. Kibana is our user interface into that data. And then at the bottom of that 3-layer cake, we have our integrations. We have a very rich ecosystem of what we call integrations. And you can think of them as like data connectors where we connect to all sorts. There's a huge, big ecosystem of different data sources that we're able to connect to. All right, so that is the platform itself. And then we have these solution areas, these vertical pillars that we're going to be looking at, observability and security mostly, and a little bit of search. But also right at the bottom, we have a very, very flexible deployment sort of architecture as well. So we have public cloud services where you can simply spin up instances of Elastic and consume them. If you, however, would like to deploy Elasticsearch in your own data center and run it yourself, we have on-premise deployments options, and then of course the hybrid of the both, right? So we also have deployment models where we might have Elastic in different, we might have Elastic in cloud, and then maybe there's a requirement to keep Elastic on-prem. Elastic, these different deployments are very, very easily able to talk to each other. Okay, so we're going to go into the first solution area, which is Elastic Observability. And just by way of semantic definition, when we talk about observability, it is the ability to view a complex system as a whole, all right, the state of a complex system as a whole. And if we think about complex systems, that's typically what IT systems are, right? So think that we've got information technology surrounding our organization. How do we get a view of what is going on in all the different components that make up that complex system? Okay, that is what we call elastic observability. You can think of it as like a monitoring tool on steroids. Okay, and then just an opening line here. So system observability is more challenging and critical than ever before. And why is that? It is purely because we've had to implement and adopt these new deployment technologies in order for us as organizations to remain agile and develop products and services for our customers very, very quickly. We need to scale. We need to deploy these different systems and consume different cloud offerings from different providers. All these different components bring additional complexity into the system, and it's typically quite challenging to get a view of what's going on there. All right, so when we speak to our customers, 65% of organizations say that they have 10 or more monitoring tools. All right, and this is effectively what we're aiming to solve and optimize using Elastic Observability. Just some challenges around observability. Tool sprawl. We all know about tool sprawl. It's not new, and it's more costly than ever. People may have heard of the term technical debt or tech debt. All right. This is an example of that, right? We've had to, in the past, as organizations, adopt all these different tools from different vendors, open source tools. We write our own tool sets just to help us try and get a grasp of this complex system. All right, and the tools are typically closed source, and they're not keeping pace, with these contemporary architectures that we've had to adopt. And then pricing models are at odds with these, of course, modern architectures as well. So, and with Elastic Observability, what we're really trying to do is drive the mean time to X, which is the mean time to detect and respond, towards 0. And we do that by delivering complete visibility on a single platform. All right, and I would even challenge this where we're starting to get to a point where we can start to anticipate when there might be a system outage before it actually starts to cause impact to the organization. All right, and then just some differentiators. We're a differentiated technology by nature. We come from the open source world. And because of that, being open code and open community, we have had to basically write all these data connectors and integrations for us to get to that data. Okay, and then we're very user-centric in terms of pricing. So you only really pay for what you need. All right, and our number one goal is, of course, to eliminate silos. So the typical observability stack looks like this. All right, many different teams with different tools, all sort of operating autonomously, not really talking to each other, working in sort of confined dimensions where we've maybe got, a database individual having only a very specific database view into the organization, and a network individual having a network view into the organization. What we're trying to do, and what we do very well, in fact, is we bring all those teams together in one, in one place, in one, like, think of it as like an observability place, technology tool set, where all your operational data is in this powerful data store of Elastic. Right, observability, it's by nature is a big data problem. How do we process all this data? How do we get it, structure it, and process it very, very quickly to give us this relevant information that we so need in order to maintain the operations of an organization? All right, we do that by eliminating those silos. So no more silos, it's unification at every layer. So we apply machine learning across all the data. It's unified alerting, one dashboard for different levels of the organization that you are in full control over creating. So if you need a view, an enterprise view or an executive view of the state of of the system, you can create that. If you need a very, very detailed view of a specific component, you're able to do that. And then we apply what we call the Elastic Common Schema to that data, which allows us to look at all the data from all these different systems as one big data set. And we're able to start to process and identify patterns in that data because of that. All right. And if you were to walk through an operations center, sort of even today, but this really brings me, it takes me back to when I was a systems engineer, and we were looking at these different systems for different organizations. This is typically what you would see. All these different tools. These tools don't talk to each other. The data is siloed in each of these tools. And what we want to do now is bring all that data into one platform where we can log it. We can get a view of what's happening from an application performance perspective. We get a view of our user experience, our real-time user monitoring, our infrastructure metrics, different profiling capabilities, and then of course, we can build whatever view and provide all these different KPI metrics to the organization where they need it. Okay, so that is very, very briefly observability. So in summary, it is the ability to view this complex system from one platform and identify and process this complex data very, very quickly. Okay, are there any questions, or should we go to questions at the end?
I think we can have the questions at the end.
Okay, great. Okay. So let us carry on to, and once again, that was very, very quick introduction to observability. We can spend hours just going into observability, but just for everyone in the room, it's just handy to know that, we have this capability. And we will go into a little bit more of a deeper dive in terms of security. All right, so security is our second solution area. And security is also, once again, a very sophisticated big data problem where we've got all the security information in our organization. And for us to get a view of what is happening from a security standpoint, it's typically very challenging to get that view. And with Elastic, we're able to do that. Okay, so just to rehash, we're in the security. We've touched on observability. We're just going to hop over into the security capability. Okay, so also once again to some differentiators. Okay, so once again, open and integrated. We have native protections that we write as part of Elastic Security Labs. Elastic Security Labs is you can think of it as like a research and development capability at Elastic. And these security professionals are the best in the industry, and they are continuing to write these detection and response rules, that might, that identify these different attacks and threats. All these different detection and response rules are mapped to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And then we also apply very sophisticated and powerful machine learning models to that data. And we also provide threat intel and research for you. Once again, because we're a big data platform, we're able to build for tomorrow's scale. And then we provide automated insights. So if you are being attacked as an organization, what do you need to do to mitigate that attack? And we provide these run books that will help you through, that. And then, of course, once again, we're hybrid, right? So we're able to run on any of the major hyperscalers, AWS, GCP, and Azure. And then once again, if you need to deploy on-prem, you're able to do so. So this is a very, very good summary of what the Elasticsearch capability is. It's basically three major components. It is a powerful SIEM, which makes sense because SIEM is driven by data, and we want to keep all that data in one place. We are an endpoint protection and XDR solution. So we provide next generation antivirus, and then we're able to detect and respond to any endpoint related incidents. And then, of course, as organizations adopt different cloud services and technologies, understanding what your security posture in terms of cloud is also a challenge, and we provide what we call cloud posture management. So we will connect to your different cloud workloads and services, and we will give you an idea of how susceptible to risk you are on those different technologies. And when we talk about cloud, it doesn't necessarily have to be public cloud, but also cloud-like technologies like Kubernetes, right? So if you've got Kubernetes clusters and you wanted to get an idea of how risk-averse these clusters and implementations are, we do that through cloud posture management. All right, this is also a little bit of a busy slide. We don't need to go into too much detail here, but I just really want to highlight on the right-hand side here where it says 100 plus what we call one-click integrations. So this is a whole ecosystem of integrations where you simply click them and you enable them, you configure them, and you can connect to all these different data sources. If it's data sources from your firewall, if it's email data, if it's cloud logs, if it's endpoint related data and logs, and then of course your own custom logs. All right, so if we don't have an integration, it's very it's not very hard to write basically data pipelines to process your own custom logs. Okay. This was also just maybe a different view of those three solution areas. So once again, SIEM, endpoint security, and cloud security. But what I want to highlight here is all the data that you're able to bring to Elastic via those integrations. So if it's data that's from cloud, if it's your network data, host data, user behavior data, business application data, you simply bring that data into Elastic via the integrations. We then structure that data, transform it, normalize it, clean it, and then it's very, very quick to get an idea of what is happening from a security standpoint on that data. And then again, native protections, right? So we have Elastic Agent. We provide native protection through that agent. So we're able to secure your endpoints, understand what's going on in those endpoints, understand and model and identify strange, patterns that might be inherent in that data through machine learning. And this is all powered by Elastic Security Labs. So that threat research, that threat intelligence, once again, coming through our R&D department. So you don't need to write your detection and response rules by yourself. We write them for you, you simply enable them. Okay, so very, very brief run through Elastic Security. And then I thought I would take you and talk a little bit around generative AI and what Elastic is doing in the generative AI space, because there is a lot of potential value that we can get by using Gen AI technologies. All right, so we can see almost like a timeline of technology, information technology, how it's sort of progressed through the decades. And we're seeing a huge influx of artificial intelligence, large language models, and Gen AI capabilities that provide very, very powerful value to the organizations, and products that are not enhanced with AI will start to feel antiquated, right? Humans are now interacting with computers in a more natural way. Before it was very structured, it was very finite and structured way that we needed to interact with these systems. AI is, starting to open that up, so it's more natural. It's a more natural, human-natural interaction. Just to give you an idea of the growth of large language models, All right, so this is the number of days to 1 million, 100 million users by technology. So we can see that Netflix, which back then was a huge adoption rate, had a huge adoption rate, took 3,500 days to get to 100 million users. All right, ChatGPT did it in a number of days. All right, that just shows you the power of ChatGPT and how you know, end users are utilizing that interaction and get that interaction to help them get to the information in, you know, in a very, firstly very quickly and in a natural way. But there's a challenge with large language models. Okay, so these large language models are trained on public data. The large language models don't know what is happening inside your organization. You know, it doesn't have that institutional knowledge. The data is a lot of the time out of date. You know, so it takes a lot of resources and investment to train these models, and we can't train them on a daily basis. We have to batch train them, you know, maybe every 6 months or a year. So they typically they're typically out of date. They don't know what happened yesterday. And they're also susceptible to hallucinations. And hallucinations are basically when the large language model doesn't have the inherent knowledge that it's been trained on. It is going to give you an answer to the best of its ability, but it might not have been trained for that answer. So it's going to give you nonsense. All right, so large language models are extremely powerful, but they do have their challenges. And with Elastic, we're able to resolve those challenges. We basically bridge the gap between the power of large language models and the institutional knowledge that's within the organization. So maybe we want to interact with our system databases, our sensitive organizational information and knowledge, but we want to interact with it in a more natural way. We're able to get you that data and enable that more natural interaction that's provided with large language models. So one of our first sort of use cases that Elastic provided was search, right? Traditional search. And search has come a long way, but what we need to do now is have better ways to retrieve the relevant information. Right, and Elasticsearch does that by what we have Esri. It's our Elasticsearch relevance engine, and this engine is very, very powerful at returning and retrieving the knowledge that we're after. All right, so we're able to search textual data, encode that data using vector encoding, apply out-of-the-box machine learning models to very, very quickly enable this next level of search, which will retrieve that data. And then from that data, from that very, very powerful or very accurate relevance of the data, we're able to start handing it off now to large language models. So this is just an example workflow of a question that we can search our institutional knowledge provided here in the bottom left inside Elasticsearch. We get very, very relevant contextual data back. And then we hand the original question together with that context data, and the large language model basically re-engineers or fabricates a response for us in a very natural way. So think of chatting with ChatGPT, but on your own data that is near real time. So what is my current sales, or what is my sales trajectory based on yesterday's sales figures in my organization? right? We're able to start to get you that level of, user interaction with the data. All right, and then just some closing out statistics. In terms of enterprise search, all right, this is just some statistics that we can see how we're providing value to the organization. So big improvement in customer and employee satisfaction, acceleration in collaboration through search by providing that context, that contextual information. And then of course, improvement in response time. So getting you that data or that information that you need very, very quickly, because we can't, there's a window of opportunity in terms of getting that information that we need, and we're able to do that through the scale of Elastic. So some statistics around Elastic observability. All right, so improvement in application and service resilience. Okay, big improvement in mean time to respond, to detect and to respond at all parts of that technical architecture, not in just one dimension, in a full 360-degree view of this technical system, complex system. And there, a big reduction in revenue distribution due to those outages. All right, so we're able to bring the impact of those outages down, which of course has a positive impact to the organization. Okay, then of course, final statistics in terms of security, big reduction in risk, accelerated decision-making time. All right, so we're getting the relevant information to your security professionals very, very quickly, and they're able to make decisions and react and respond to these threats very, very quickly. And then once again, big reduction in revenue distribution as a result of security incidents. And then just to reinforce the different deployment options and architectures. All right, so we have a software as a service. So we partner with all the hyperscalers, AWS, GCP, and Azure, where you can simply next, finish and deploy an instance of Elastic in your public cloud. Then we also have Elastic Cloud Enterprise, which you can think of as your own private cloud, Elastic Cloud. So this is a place where if you're providing services to organizations in a multi-tier architecture, through Elastic Cloud Enterprise, you're able to provision very, very quickly, much like we do with Elastic Cloud, provision these Elastic instances, but in your own data center. So you can almost next, finish and have a deployment of Elastic, but it is in your own data center. And then Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes, which is very similar to Elastic Cloud Enterprise, but the ability to provision Elastic implementations on top of Kubernetes, and then the good old self-managed standalone implementation, right? So if there is concerns, we see a lot of it in Africa. If there's concerns around data governance and data sovereignty, we see that self-managed is widely adopted in Africa. So you still have the ability to run it in a very sort of secure, self-managed way. And that brings me to the end of a very brief platform overview. And we really went through the platform very, very quickly. We would typically spend an hour in each of those different solution areas, and then a further hour to actually navigate and show and demonstrate the platform itself. So it has been a very, very quick run through, and I hope that I was at least able just to show you, firstly, introduce you to Elastic, and show you that with Elastic we're able to unlock this very rich information that's inherent in this data, and we've applied that in these two very specific solution areas, which are big data problems. So the ability to observe that complex system and the ability to see what is happening from a security perspective and respond very, very quickly, you know, in terms of security. So by that, I'm going to firstly thank you, and then I think we can open up for general conversation and questions. Tina, did you pick up any conversation or any questions whilst we were going through the platform?
I'm afraid the chat is quiet, so
Okay.
unless, yeah, that must have been a very insightful presentation, because there are no questions as of now.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you. Tina, do
Okay.
you and your team have any questions?
None from my end, unless
Mhm.
anyone from the team wants to ask a question right now. Okay. So I'm not sure if you can unmute yourselves. You can also send the question to the chat.
Yep. But just way of conversation, Tina, do you, being a, you know, so data group like IT, of course, provides these services to you, of course, your customers, and you, I guess, get the opportunity to visit different customers and see these challenges that these different organizations are, you know, having to contend with. Would you agree that, you know, getting that whole enterprise-wide view of that system, you know, the IT system is, I mean, typically we've never thought of the IT system as a whole. We've always seen it as like different components of the overall system, and we've never been able to get that full sort of universal view. Is that something that Data Group sees in your customer space?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. And also there was a question that was being thrown around. So obviously people know Elastic from having the open source solutions, and they were asking what would be the advantage of moving a customer from open source to the enterprise version.
Oh, good. Okay, very good question. Yes. So of course, you know, we've got open source heritage, and we continue to have that open source heritage. And there's a number of reasons for that. Firstly, we want to we're very community driven, right? So we want to provide capabilities to the community. All right. And then of course we take a lot of inspiration from the community as well. All right. So our development that we sort of roadmaps and the capabilities that we provide through licensed, what we call licensed versions. You can think of them as of subscriptions, like a license subscription. That is taken from basically the need and what the community is looking for. All right, and those technical, so there's certain capabilities that are only provided through sort of enterprise subscriptions. But if your enterprise, your Elastic implementation is, you know, fulfilling the requirement, then continue to use the free and open. I mean, it is free and open. It is a free and open license model. And that's 100% fine, and we encourage that. But when we start to talk to large organizations where complex Elastic deployments, you know, are needed, there's capabilities and orchestration capabilities that are provided through the subscription levels. And then there's, of course, supports, right? So typically on a free and open subscription or license subscription, if the end user needed to get some sort of support, they typically go to, Google and start Googling and getting onto forums and searching Stack Overflow, which happens to be an Elastic implementation, interestingly enough. They're sort of left to themselves, to get to that resolution. With the license subscription levels, you get deeper support. And then, of course, anything cloud-based. So if you visit cloud.elastic.co, you're able to, and I encourage you to do so, spin up a free trial of Elastic Cloud. All right, you get, I think it's about 2 weeks, you get a 2 weeks trial. And then you can start to see the additional value that, these enterprise features brings. And what we can do, I guess, Tina, is a follow-on email will probably be useful for the audience. I can point you in the direction of basically it's a subscriptions page, and you're able to see the feature value that you get through the different license levels.
Okay, thank you, Jack. That was very well answered. So as we're waiting for probably more questions to pop up in the chat, I believe Gregory didn't have a chance to introduce himself, so maybe he can say 1 or 2 things, then we can close the session off.
Okay. No, thank you. So my name is Gregory Anderson. I've been at Elastic for probably close on 11 months. And prior to that, I was with Informatica. So I was the regional sales director for Informatica. Joined Elastic in May last year. And so I'm responsible for the East Central Africa region. If there's any help that you may need or support or discussions that you may want to have around our platform, please just feel free to, reach out to me, whether it be enterprise search, your observability and APM or security. Okay, so any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Gregory and Jack. So I don't see any other questions in the chat. I'm assuming we are all good on that front. So thank you everyone for your time and for joining this session. As Jack mentioned, this was a very, very high level overview of Elastic's capabilities. That was just the tip of the iceberg, but if you would like a follow-up session, please do not hesitate to contact your account managers, myself, and we can definitely connect you with the Elastic team and show you what more use cases each and every solution they offer can have. So if there's nothing else to say, Jack, Gregory, you're good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good.
Thanks so much for hosting it. And if you want individual sessions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, we can